The fifth rule in Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, is don't let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. It's a super, super good rule and a core part of my parenting philosophy. And many kids today are super annoying because parents are lazy and they allow their children to be annoying. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 biggest mistakes I see parents make, why these mistakes turn their otherwise adorable children into annoying little brats, and how it can be easily fixed. The first and most dreadful parenting mistake, in my opinion, is rewarding a child for whining. I can only think of one thing that is more annoying, more frustrating, and more infuriating than a whiny child, and that is a parent who incentivizes it. Having a whiny child is probably one of the easiest things a parent can stop and fix. All you have to do is either ignore your child or you have to punish them for whining. I have a rule with my children: no whining, not ever, and I never break this rule. If they whine, I either tell them I won't listen until they stop whining, or I punish them in some way for whining in the first place. But many parents today do the opposite. They reward their children when they whine. A child may whine for a toy, a kid may whine about a dinner that they don't like, or a child could whine when their parent doesn't buy them something at the grocery store, like a bag of candy. But instead of sticking to their guns, the parent gives the child the toy. They don't make their kid eat their vegetables, or they buy them the bag of candy to stop the temper tantrum. If a child whines and then gets rewarded, that child will do what? They'll whine more. Pure and simple. Easy as that. It's so easy to understand, yet so many parents screw it up. How do you stop a kid from whining? You never, and I mean never, give your child what they want if they are whining. Will they still whine occasionally? Of course. Of course my kids still whine. But that's because they're kids. But eventually they'll stop because they realize they're never going to get rewarded for it. The second biggest mistake I see parents make is allowing their children to be picky eaters. Many parents give kids, mac and cheese, pizza, chicken tenders way too often. And it may be some other, type of childlike food item, peanut butter and jellies or whatever. But my point is that very often these days, the children determine the food. The parent doesn't want to constantly fight with their kid about it, so they just give the child what they want. I'm not saying I'm the best parent in the world, but I can break this habit with any kid. How? You serve them a nutritious meal like beef stew or chicken and vegetables, and the child does not eat anything else until the food on that plate is gone. And I mean nothing. If they don't finish the meal, it goes back into the fridge until the next meal. That's when you take that same plate back out and you give it back to them. If they still don't want it, it goes back in the fridge again and you try it the next meal. And I promise you, eventually that kid will eat that food. If the child is stubborn enough not to eat, they're just not hungry enough yet. And it's not child abuse. They're just being stubborn. They're children. But it almost never comes to this these days because children know that if they put up a little tiny fuss, that the parent's going to immediately cave and the child will get the food he or she wants. So why not whine? Why not put up a fuss? My children have gone nearly 24 hours before without eating because they refused to eat what I gave them. But eventually they ate it, and that was that. Problem solved. My children learned early on that they did not dictate what they were going to eat, and now they eat almost anything. Now, everybody has a few things they don't like. There's certain foods that I don't like, so I do allow my children to not like a couple of things. I personally think that's okay. But if your child doesn't like any fruits or veggies, they don't like eating chicken, they don't like this, they don't like that, that's a parenting problem. That's not a taste bud problem. Force your children to eat the food you give them from the start, and that way you're not going to be fighting with them for years about food. If you fight this battle and you stick to your guns the very first couple of times they ever have this problem, and they're going to be young, 1, 2, 3, you will almost never have to argue with them about food again. It makes life so much easier, and it makes your kid far less annoying. The third mistake I see parents make is allowing children to talk back. And if you're a good parent, and I would absolutely put myself in this category, you should demand respect. If you tell your child to do something and they say no or give you attitude, the punishment should be severe. My children do not say no to me. And I'm not a mean father. I'm very loving, but I am strict. If your children defy you when they're 4, imagine how bad they're going to be when they're 16. If you can't properly parent a 4-year-old, what makes you think you'll ever be able to properly parent a teenager? You're not. You're gonna fold then even easier than you do now. Your child will walk all over you. Plus, you're also doing them a great disservice because if they're allowed to disrespect you when they're young, you're teaching them that they can grow up and disrespect their elders and those in charge of them. And that is almost never the case in life. They can do that, but they're not going to get very far. If you allow your children to talk back and be rude, you are teaching them a very bad lesson. It is their job to push. They're trying to understand the limits. That's what kids do. But it is your job to push back as a parent. You must push back when they cross the line. And disrespecting elders should be a very firm line every single time. And the last mistake I see parents make is letting the small things slide. It's so easy as a parent to let the small things just kind of slide by and just say to yourself, like, oh, I'll fight this next time. And I've absolutely done this occasionally, right? You do kind of have to pick your battles, but some kids are whiny, they're picky eaters, they're rude and they talk back. That's not picking your battles. That is you being a bad parent over and over and over again, plain and simple. Don't let the small things slide. And I'll give you an example of a small thing. So my family went to a Christmas lights kind of walk event near our house last night. It's about a mile walk through the woods and there's lights all along the way. It's super pretty. But halfway through, my daughter started crying and she wanted me to carry her. She's 4, and this may sound mean to some people, but I know her. She just wanted a free ride. And I may have given it to her if she wasn't whiny about it from the start, but she instantly started whining and was like, oh, Dad, my legs are tired. And that was it. That was the end for me. She had lost before she even started. So I said, no. I said, you can walk. We're going to go slow, but you can keep up. But she kept on whining and crying, and it was on and off for the rest of the walk, for the next 20 minutes or so. And it was frankly very frustrating. Did not make me happy. So at the end, we were supposed to get s'mores, and my wife and I decided that we were going to use it as a lesson. We told her we weren't getting s'mores because she hadn't behaved. She'd been crying and whiny like the last 20, 30 minutes, and we were not going to reward her with a s'more. So then she really started to cry. And I wanted so bad to give her a s'more. We were on a Christmas walk. You know, Christmas is 4 days away. She's my 4-year-old princess. She's my angel. I hate punishing her. I hate taking away her s'more, especially on a nice Christmas walk. But that is what I mean by the smallest things. Did that s'more really matter in the grand scheme of her upbringing? No, like I could have given her the s'more. But that's the type of parent I am. I don't pride myself on a lot, but I am a damn good father. My wife and I raise great kids. They're respectful, they're fun to be around, they're well-mannered, and they're honestly just all-around amazing children. We get complimented a lot on how great our kids are, and that's not an accident. It's because we don't let the small things slide. This is also just an honorable mention from my wife. I was telling her last night about what the video was going to be about today, and she was like, oh, I would add one more. When kids interrupt their parents, when their parents are either talking to each other or they're talking to other adults, lots of times you'll see kids come up and be like, Mom, 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 Dad, Dad. And it's so annoying. Like, I remember looking at that before I had kids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is insane. And it should be no different when you're a parent. If your kid comes up to you when you're talking to another adult, you say, no, I'm talking, you wait. Good life lesson. It's so easy. You just tell them to stop. If you answer them, right, they're just wanting your attention. They're children, that's okay. But there's rules and there's limits, right? They have to figure out what works and what doesn't. And they have to learn early on that going up to an adult when they're interacting with another person and saying, Dad, I want your attention. Give me your attention right now. It's like, no, that's not how you get attention. You sit there and you wait until I'm done talking, and then I will give you attention. And it's as easy as that. But so many parents, the kid will come up, say, Mom, Mom, and then the parent will tell the other adult, oh, wait 1 second, my son or daughter needs something. Turn to the kid, answer their question, and then go on with the conversation. Like, it's so obvious how insane this is, but parents do it all the time. So don't let your kids interrupt you, because it's a bad life lesson and it's super annoying. So again, back to Jordan Peterson's rule, do not let your kids do anything that would make you dislike them. And when kids interrupt their parents when they're talking, so annoying. My children are disciplined and respectful because my wife and I seize on almost every opportunity to make them better. Being a good parent is really hard. It's easy to be a bad parent. I could have given my daughter that s'more last night, but being a bad parent makes your life so much harder in so many other ways, and you set your child up for failure in life. I almost never have to listen to my kids whine. I almost never have to argue with them about what to eat at dinner. I almost never have to get upset with them about being disrespectful. My kids are a joy to be around because my wife and I have not let the small things slide, and you shouldn't either. Let me know in the comments if you have any other things that drive you absolutely nuts about other people's kids, or if you have kids of your own, what are some of the things that you do really well as a parent, and how have your kids benefited? I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you disagree with me on anything, please let me know. But I will say, if you disagree with anything that I just said, you're wrong, because these are parenting basics, right? If you're not doing these things, it's because you're lazy, and frankly, you're being a bad parent. Don't be a lazy parent. Seize every opportunity to raise great kids and mold them into great adults. Our world needs better adults. My journey is far from over, but it doesn't take a genius to deduce what I have discussed in this video. Kids crave structure, so give it to them. Be their parent, don't be their friend. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane if you have kids. It can be a crazy ride. Live free, and until next time, I'll talk to you soon. See ya.